All right. That was my Greg impression. All right, everybody.
good.
Episode 27 of Heart of the Order, the Vlad Guerrero episode.
Or Vlad Jr.
Also. The Malcolm Jenkins NFL episode. I'm blanking on other baseball players who are 27.
The Leonard Fournette. Since football does kick off tomorrow.
Yeah, it seems right. So we'll still be a baseball podcast, but a little ode to football. Greg could not make it tonight, so you're stuck with the two of us on this happy Roberto Clemente day. What was it, Dre? The first time in 47 years Pirates wearing 21 on the back of their jerseys?
Yep, because the number was retired in Pittsburgh. They do a tremendous job of honoring Roberto Clemente when they put the 21, they cut it into the grass in right field, but today, like you said, Brooksy, the first time in 27 years where Roberto Clemente, or the number 21, has donned a Pirates jersey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then everybody on the Pirates are wearing it without the name on the back. And then in pre-show, you listed off some names of people who chose to wear it on other teams. So Javi Baez, Josh Harrison, Francisco Lindor. So a handful of guys honoring Roberto Clemente on this day. And then it sort of makes me think when or if/when will 21 be retired across baseball. So I'm wondering if that's –
Yeah, and I'm kind of on the fence about that. Like, you know, and I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm not and maybe I should be, maybe I'm not as a big aficionado on retiring Clemente's number across baseball. Just because I think the only number retired across baseball is Jackie Robinson. And that, you know, that story, everyone knows it, but I'm not sure if, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and again, I feel like a complete dink for this, especially living in Pittsburgh, but did Clemente break the barriers that Robinson broke in terms of Latin players? Because if he did, then I'm 100% for retiring
it. I did my sports biography on him in third grade. I really should know. I know that I feel like it's worth Googling because, this is a big important point in where we are with it. But I feel like he was, but, beyond that, all the work that he did philanthropically on the side.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing with Clemente, as far as I know, is, this man was – I mean, he wore a Pirates jersey and for his team, but he was more so than anybody. He was for his country, for not even just his country. He's for the whole entire Latin America. For those who don't know, he died in a plane crash doing a mission going to Nicaragua, and the plane was overweight. And to even further go into that, finding this out, it's a morbidly cool fact, but Neil Walker's dad was set to go on that plane.
I didn't know that.
Clement, yeah, they did a story about it on ESPN and had Neil Walker on, I think way back in 14 or 15, but his dad was supposed to be on that plane, and he said, Roberto's no, I'll just go alone. And I know he tried to get other people on the plane like Manny Sanguin, but due to the weight, he told Neil Walker's dad no, and then the plane ended up crashing.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow,
yeah,
that's haunting.
So it is haunting, but, if that plane crashes with Neil Walker's dad on it, you don't have Neil Walker. I mean, that's just sad to say, but that's the truth. And it's that's the kind of person he was. He was selfless. He's no, you don't have to come. It's already overweight. I got this, and it's tragic. But I guess to get back to the point of retiring 21, if they do it, I'm cool. If they don't, then my only thing is did he my whole thing is like, did he break the barriers that Jackie Robinson did? Because I feel like that's an honor in itself that should not be, I guess, I don't want to sound harsh when I say this, but should not be tainted.
Yeah.
So, and again, being from Pittsburgh, I feel like there's better ways to honor him. Like tonight, I thought was perfect in allowing Major League Baseball players to do that. And I know there's been some great 21s over the years, like Sammy Sosa was number 21 from the Dominican Republic. Like, I don't know if he wore it because of Clemente, but I feel like it's a safe assumption.
Yeah. I think Clemente was the first Hispanic player to make the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And I mean, I guess at that point too, I think his story is extra powerful because he died while he was still playing.
Yeah.
And like, I think that adds a different layer to why, it's such a
crazy topic.
You know
what I mean? Like,
and like the fact that so many things about it too are just like, what? Like he had exactly like 3,000 hits or like something.
Yeah. He is the line
there. So I think I'm in a similar boat to you where I think honoring him is awesome to see it across the way. And I think in a lot of ways it's a cool connection to people who like, Sammy Sosa wearing 21 by seeing like Roberto Clemente. So I think it's really cool that it's reserved or it's retired for the Pirates and what he represents and all the little ways that they can, pay homage to him. So the bridge, the statue on the other end of the bridge, the fact that the wall in right field is 21 feet high, all those little pieces, retiring the number is great. But I think it's across the sport. If it happens, great, but I'm not the one saying that it needs to happen tomorrow.
Exactly. And they have the Roberto Clemente Award, which is given to the most philanthropic. I'd probably butcher that word. The person on their representative team that does the most charity work for their communities. Like that's what it is. It's an honor. Everyone wants to do it. It's similar to the Walter Payton Award, and I think NFL does it right whenever whoever wins the award gets a specific patch on their jersey. I would like to see that same thing happen to the Roberto Clemente.
That's a cool thing to do.
Like it's distinct. Drew Brees, right now, the only two that pop off in my head that have it are Drew Brees and J.J. Watt. Brees won it. Brees won it back when, and J.J. Watt won it recently for all the money he raised during the hurricane that went through Houston. I think that Major League Baseball should do the same and letting whoever wins that award, wear the patch. I think they should design some sort of patch for it because I think it's really cool. And Breeze and Watt, they're both captains. So like you have the C on one end, then you have the patch on the other side. I think it's phenomenal for the Walter Payton Award.
Yeah. And then that's a really good idea. I like that. Let's get on the phone with our contacts.
We gotta tell somebody. Tell Manfred. I mean, he'll fumble the bag because he's done that on countless occasions, as we've seen so far this year.
We'll skip over him.
Yeah, forget it.
And then in more somber current events in baseball, Lou Brock, the icon, the known for stolen bases. I think before Ricky Henderson broke the record, but like that was just his calling card. And coming from somebody in like the really rural South. And once Jackie Robinson broke through that barrier, he was sort of in that next generation of players coming through like 15, 20 years later. And I mean, obviously we never saw him play, but you heard of the style in which he played and it was cool. And now like whenever like somebody does pass, it's special just to hear it from like the different perspectives of other like players that did have run-ins with him. So rest in peace to Lou Brock and like what he meant to baseball and especially the second generation of like African American players in the league.
Yeah, and Lou Brock was a hero, Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some of his stats up here. Career 293 hitter, on base percentage 343. He had a smidge under 1,000 stolen bases with 938, 900 RBIs. He scored 1,610 runs. The man was a hell of a baseball player. 6-time All-Star, 2-time World Series, and again, the crown on the cap is Hall of Fame. And in the era he grew up in, the area he grew up in, and the era he grew up in, you got to imagine it was hard for someone to be successful, but he went out there every single day in St. Louis and just played his ass off the entire time. And again, he's like Jackie, just one of the guys that helped pave the way for African Americans in baseball. Like you said, he's the second wave, the second generation. Like Jackie was first, and then the guys that followed. But him being that second wave and being as good as he was for them Cardinals was, an incredible feat. So, what he meant to the game of baseball, his legacy is going to live on forever. So, rest in peace, Lou Brock.
Yeah, and I think it's really powerful, the stories of like when we come around to like whether it's Roberto Clemente Day or like unfortunately a past figure passes. Like you hear new stories, it feels like each year. And I read something, it was just like a funny interchange that Ricky Henderson recounted from like years ago when like Ricky Henderson broke Lou Brock's like stolen base record.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't find it now, but check it out on your own time for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Not much else I can say about a hero. Like he's one of the guys that I honestly wish that he's one of the historic guys I wish that I got to see play baseball, because I know I would have enjoyed every second of him, even though he donned the jersey of the evil empire, the St. Louis Cardinals. Bottom line is that you can still appreciate greatness regardless what jersey they wear. And Lou Brock, he was one of the best. So,
I think he was acquired in a trade too. So he's a spark plug player, and he provided that like spark plug for a team that then won those championships right after that.
Yeah, 2 World Series rings. I said it. It's a shame he's only a 6-time All-Star, but sure, at the top of the lineup, he just did nothing but rain roughshod on whoever. I mean, he turned ground balls into singles. Like, you know how hard that is to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even in today's game, you see it and you're kind of amazed. But for Lou Brock, I mean, I'm sure that was his calling card. As soon as he's on first, he's taking off.
Yeah.
He did 938 times. Like, the man was a stolen base machine. He had the record before Ricky Henderson broke it. So
It's cool when you're like coaching. I figure in baseball, like there's certain players that you would always like point back to and like want your players to play and like approach the game that way. And I feel like Brock was definitely one of those guys.
100%.
So rest in peace to him. And then, in baseball news, we have 3 weeks left in the season.
Yeah. Let's shift gears here, and we're in September.
We got September baseball.
How crazy is that?
Which we got, a third, maybe a third of the season left. And, we're starting to get some races developing, both in the playoff races now with 8 teams in the running and also for some awards. So first, looking at, and we'll go through like teams that jump out to us, but if the playoffs started today, here are the 8 teams in each league in order. The AL, Rays, Athletics, White Sox, Indians, Twins, Blue Jays, Astros, and the team that just makes it as of now by the hair of their chinny chin chin, the Yankees. And the team that's 1 game back of those Yankees, the powerhouse, the team we all predicted them getting the year, the Baltimore Orioles.
I'm cheesing ear to ear. I really am.
It's what's happening in New York? What's going on?
Well, Before I talk about New York, I just want to say wow about the Baltimore Orioles. Like, that's insane to me. This is a team that we thought would be picking in the top 5 next year, and here they are, a game out? A game out of the 8th spot in the playoffs?
And a game behind the Orioles, the Tigers.
Crazy. And a half game behind them is the Mariners. But the Yankees. It's super funny about the Yankees because here's a team that went out and they paid Garrett Cole all this money. And Garrett Cole, as of late, has not been pitching that great. And he's counted on to be the ace. And it's insane to me that I sat here behind this computer and I did not put them in the World Series. And I said I didn't think they would crumble. I thought they would crumble under pressure. I thought they were going to make the championship game, championship series, lose to the Twins in 7, I believe 7 or 6, and the Twins were going to go all the way. And we sit here today, and they might not even make the playoffs. They started out so hot, and right now I believe they're like 4-19 in their last 23. Like, how in the world does this team with all this talent just completely like fall off this cliff? It's super unexplainable to me. They're 8-14 on the road. They're 14-7 at home. I mean, that's like, I mean, you're not playing in front of fans. So like, how much does that affect anybody? But like, their run differential is +8. They're 3-7 their last 10. I mean, they're still 85% chance to make the playoffs compared to the Orioles at 12. Like, come on, they're not making it easy.
Yeah, it's like it's just like one of those things where you're like, well, they have to turn it around. Look at their roster. They just have to do it. And then, like, I think they're 3-7 in their last 10, but in their last 20, it may be either like 1, 2, 3 other wins in there. Like, they're just like crumbling. And now Greg would like to make a statement, even though he can't be with us tonight.
Yeah.
This is for him.
Greg would love to rip on this team.
Quote, "The Red Sox are currently one of the worst teams in the MLB, but it's always nice to see the Yankees fail." LOL. That's my statement. I don't really have a lot of room to talk right now. So that was the little teaser, the little shout out. But yeah, that's like shocking. And it makes me think, I'm blanking on this, so you'll have to fill me in. Are they doing the thing where teams pick who they're playing in the playoffs, or is it just 1-8, 2-7?
I think it's just so. I think the wild card. I'm pretty sure the wild card series after those are settled, I'm pretty sure that the remaining seeds get to pick who they want to play.
Got it.
So, I mean, I still don't want to play the Yankees in a playoff series. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. Like, this is cool and funny right now. And, like, I can't write them off until the end. And that ain't even about the 85% chance that they still have to make the playoffs compared to the Baltimore Orioles as well. I mean, they're just on paper. They're just super talented. Like, Aaron Judge is on the DL and Stanton's on the DL, but they still have Cole and they still have all this firepower in their lineup. But, like, these guys, they're just not producing at the level they need to be. Like, Gleyber Torres has had an atrocious year. Like, by all accounts, this dude is terrible right now. I mean, he has 2 homers, 10 RBIs, OPS is 697, batting 234. Like, this dude last year was insane.
Yeah. He just came off the IL too, I think.
Well, if he just came off, they're going to need him because right now, Stanton and Judge are on the IL. I'm sorry. Shout out to Greg Malik. Still on the they're on the IL, and like they need some bats in order to keep going, in order to make this push because it's September. September 9th is the date, to be exact. Like, the season ends here in 3 weeks, and yeah, as of today, they're in the playoffs, but like they are really crumbling under pressure right now. Like I thought they would. I just didn't think it would be during the regular season.
Yeah. Definitely not in the ways that they are. Like, I'm looking now at some of their splits. I mean, they're 14-7 at home, 8-14 on the road. Yeah, I still think they have to turn it around at a certain point. They're too powerful not to.
Yeah.
And just the point at this where it's like, well, they're 6 games out of the division. Like that, you got to start to like nip that down because you don't want to be in a wild card format. And wait, I'm just having a brain fart again. So what's the playoff format that we're working with now? So there's the 3 division winners.
Yes. And then there's there's like the 6 seed, or the 4, 5, and 6 seed, which are the second place
in each division.
Yeah, and then the wild cards come from all 3 divisions. They're the last 2. They're the best record of the remaining teams.
Yeah, so right now, what we have in front of us is, so then you would have the wild card matchups between, so would the team with the next best record be omitted from the wild card round?
Wait, what do you mean?
So you have the 8 teams.
Yes.
What's the wild card round of the playoffs?
So let me pop this up here because I want to get this 100% right.
We've had so many different systems and things. I'm just like getting all turned around.
So the first round matchup will follow as 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, and will be a best of 3 series. And then after that, the division series will be best of 5, followed by the championship series, which will be 7. And then the winner of 1-8 first round will face 4, 5, 2, 7, 3, 6. So before I was completely wrong about having to pick. I think it was rumored that they were going to pick, but that was never implemented. So it's just going to be like seed versus seed. Maybe they do reseeding up to 6 wins. Maybe they play the 1 seed. I'm not 100% sure.
Wait, so who's playing who in the first round?
So if the season were to end today, the Yankees would have to play the number 1 team in the American League, which is
the Rays.
The Rays. And honestly, I know we said the Yankees are 6 back in the division. The Rays are going to win this division. Like, they're fighting for the number 1 seed. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all there. I think that division's a wrap.
Yeah. I mean, especially how they're playing. Their arms are like only going to get better as the year goes on. I think Charlie Morton was gone for most of the year. Yarborough was as well. And like now these guys are starting to like come back and they're just replenishing their arms.
Glasnow's looking, I mean, again, he's looked dominant in some starts. He's looked off in others, but like he's a young guy, so he's going to figure it out. But when he looks dominant, he looks like one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yeah.
Here.
And then Garrett Cole, we could see them pitching against each other in the playoffs with Charlie Morton pitching the next day.
They pitched a couple weeks ago, and it's funny because Garrett Cole and Tyler Glasnow both give up like 4 or 5 runs in their outings.
We won. Somebody check how Chris Archer did that day, or Joe Musgrove. They did it. But I think it's cool. I mean, it is like a shortened season, and this is the sort of stuff that you could expect. But you got some of the teams that have the payrolls in the Pirates neighborhood, the Rays and the A's up top there.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see a little bit of that, and something where you think that just the Yankees, they just got more powerful, but you're still seeing a little bit there, and a piece of that is just in a 60-game season. But I think it's going to be cool to see. You have a team like Toronto there, like looking at the top 8 teams, 7 of those are like, okay, yeah, like I could imagine that. And the Blue Jays there are the biggest surprise to me.
Oh
like
my
that
God.
would be exciting to see where they sort of come out. What?
I just saw the score of the Braves game.
What is it?
It's 22-8.
I hope they're winning. Or who are
They
they?
are winning. They're playing the Marlins.
Oh gosh! And speaking of the fall back to earth, but maybe not.
Yeah,
22-8. Holy cow!
Yeah,
Well, that's a good.
that threw me off. I apologize, but
You're good.
I do want to say this about the Blue Jays because I know that's who you were talking about. We're actually going to find out how real this team is because down the stretch they play the Yankees 7 times. So, we're gonna find out if they're actually for real or not, and we're gonna see if the Yankees got the Nats in order to stick around because not only they play the Blue Jays 7 times, they're going to a 4-game set here versus the Orioles. If the Orioles take 3 or 4, it ain't looking good.
Yeah.
It ain't looking good.
Yeah, they got to start, collecting because the Yankees still have, those games against the Orioles. They have maybe like 3 left against their beloved Red Sox that they haven't lost to yet this year. They got to take the wins when they can get them because they're still having a chunk of their schedule where they have to play Rays, Jays, Phillies, Braves, Marlins, like teams that are, in it too. So
yeah. So this is the Yankees. This is their schedule to finish up. 4 games versus the Orioles, and then 3 games versus the Blue Jays. Then they go to Boston, play 3-game set, and then they got 4 in Toronto, and then they finish out the season with 3 in Miami. And I don't know what makeup games there are yet, so I feel like they would be announced already though, and they'd be out here, but they're not. So I don't think they have anything to make up.
Yeah, so that's what we have in the AL. It'll be interesting. Like next week, like each week as it sort of takes shape, and like one would think the Yankees would sort of give themselves more space, but this next series against the Orioles is going to be huge.
Do you think that they get in?
The Orioles?
Yeah, no, the Yankees. You think that, or do you think they blow it?
I've been saying it ever since they started losing. Like they have to turn it around. They just have to. If they won't, or if they don't, that's going to be just a complete laughing stock.
If they don't, I fire Brian Cashman. I know that's egregious, but I probably can't him, and I probably can't Aaron Boone. I just can't tolerate that if I'm Steinbrenner. Like I understand it's a shortened season, but like your team was legitimately built for this shortened season. Like we're not talking about the grind and the dog days of summer. Like those were long gone. You're talking about what the Yankees are built on. That's performing in August and September, and they have not woken up. All I'm saying is if they don't do it, I'm canning both of them. I'm just cleaning the house. Like I know it's crazy. It seems completely drastic, but I mean, I don't care. Like
it's not that drastic.
It's especially if the Orioles are the team that gets in. Yeah. And the Blue Jays, to be behind those teams, like the Rays we can understand. The Rays are a really good team. But the Orioles, they're just on paper, and the Blue Jays, who will have the talent eventually on paper as they, come into their own, if those teams just completely vault over the Yankees in the playoffs, like I have to fire them.
Yeah, and then you would have to think like there's a certain amount of leniency in a 60-game like season where you're coming off of a pandemic, a lot of questions and like different procedures and just a weird season in general. But the extent and just like the overall optics of more than half the teams in your league make the playoffs, and you're not one of them after being across the board, like not just like most people are predicting them to make the World Series. 2/3 of our podcast, which carries some weight.
It does, but
we'll see.
It's just a no-brainer for them to be there. Like, would I be shocked if they were in the World Series? If contact. If they were there to end, would I be shocked? No, but like I'm more shocked about what they're doing right now. I know Mac, when he listens to this and watches this, he's gonna revel in all of this. Like he's just gonna enjoy it, regardless if his Sox are a number 1 pick right now in Major League Baseball, which is stupid, but whatever. Kumar Rocker, watch, needs to keep going on in Pittsburgh, so stop winning games. But bottom line is that whenever he sees this, I know he's going to enjoy every second of it because we're ripping apart his rival. And they deserve every second of it. Cashman ripped on him too, which means that I know he's feeling the pressure.
Yeah. They started, I'm looking now at like their schedule. They started 9-2. And then at that point, they were 16-6 on August 17th. So they had a 4-game sweep of Boston. They were swept 3 times, or they were swept by the Rays, and then so they were 16-6, and now they're sitting at 22-21. They won tonight, so that's good.
So,
but yeah, this series for them is going to be
6. They were what, 5-15.
5-15. Wow, so they won 5 out of 20.
That's just uncalled for.
Mm-hmm.
A team like that should not be such a roller coaster like that.
Not a locker room I'd want to be in.
If I'm Aaron Boone, I'm feeling all the pressure because I know Cashman's calling them out in public. So he might be doing it because he feels safe, but in the end, how safe is he? This is the team he put on the field. This is the team that he built, and this is the team that could potentially fall behind the Tampa Bay Rays, the homeless Toronto Blue Jays.
Forget about that.
Y'all kind of do, which is, again, insane in itself that they're even this good without a home stadium. And then the Baltimore Orioles, which is probably the worst of them all.
Yeah, it's inexcusable. And then, insert smooth transition here. The other team that was sort of the built for, what would assume would be a definite World Series appearance in the NL, they're holding up their end of the bargain. They got a 4.5-game lead on the division, but also on the rest of the league. And if the playoffs started today, you would have the Dodgers. Well, they wouldn't be 2, but the Padres. I'm listing in the order from 1 to 8 in the
Maybe
record.
4.
Yeah. So I'm just going from record right now.
Okay.
I guess it would be, I'll do it from the 1 through 8 in terms of their seed. So Dodgers, Cubs, Braves, Padres, Phillies, Cardinals, and then the last 2 teams to get in were.
Again, can't predict baseball.
It's just.
Say it. Just say it because I can't believe it.
Marlins and the Giants.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, they and it's sort of like a bummer because in the last, maybe 3-11, in the Pirates' last, 18 games, they're 11-7 or something. They're they were putting together a little bit of something, and if they, didn't start off 4-17, maybe that could be a little bit closer, but Kumar Rocker watch. But looking here, it's holy cow, how are the Marlins? And it's the same thing of what we saw in the other one where it's these few teams that are in the races. You have the Rockies that are a game and a half out of the 8th spot. The Mets being the Mets. The Reds. What's going on with the Reds?
I don't know. But, again, that's a manager that I would also like to think would be canned with that team on the field.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not for people losing their jobs, but Dave Price after last year, that whole brawl and everything, or David Bell, I'm sorry, that was all Price was their old manager. So I would fully expect him to get canned as well. But yeah, I think looking at this race, I think it's extremely impressive. I'm selling it short. It's beyond impressive. It is completely magnificent that the Cardinals and Marlins are even in this position, considering the fact that they had so many games and so many cases of COVID that their teams were shut down for days on end because of it. The Marlins, I think, at one point had 22 confirmed cases at the beginning of the season, and here they are sitting at the 8th seed, where they sort of bought and sold at the deadline. You can't predict this stuff. You try and you look at it, but you just can't do it.
And it's just going to be like one of those things where it's like unique, where baseball's never had, instances of, obviously the playoffs have never been this big, but imagine like a Marlins or a Giants playoff series against the Dodgers. It's just like, holy cow, are they going to do it? And it's just like, it's cool when it like is sort of expanded out in this, because in the current system, in the current or the playoff system that we're using this year, like those doors are open. Like we're going to see a lot of crazy stuff. And I'm just wondering if, your teams like the Reds, for me, the Reds are like the same thing with the Yankees. I'm like, you've added so much and you are playing against, what we would think is, not any of the powerhouses in the NL. You're getting like a pretty balanced schedule there than the Pirates, but then you're getting a softer division in like in the beginning of the year. That's what we're saying, but you can't predict any of this stuff. But I feel like if the Reds or the Brewers get hot, they could compete with one of those spots. But it's just like looking at it, it's insane. But I think even beyond that, another tip of the cap to you and your prediction is like, I'd be like, oh yeah, like the Padres definitely would be competing for a playoff spot. But now like they're comfortably the second best record in the AL or NL. Like granted, they would be the 4 seed playing like probably the team out of the NL East. But that's still like incredible, and hats off to their manager. Like we'll get to some of that conversation, a little bit of awards and who's getting what. But guess right now what the Marlins playoff chances percentage is according to Fangraphs.
I'm going to say 13%. Is it higher? Is it like 45?
45.7.
Oh my goodness.
They're doing it.
45.8 on ESPN, and I asked this question last week, are they for real? I guess
The
they are
Giants
for real.
The Giants are 66.6, the Lucifer percentage, and they're at that point. And then the next closest, you have the Brewers at 45.3. Everything else up top is looking chalk. And like one team for me that
Pirates at 0.2 on ESPN. There's a chance.
so
Not that we want.
There's a chance. And somehow the Diamondbacks are, hopefully the Kumar Rocker watch is still in effect. But a team that I was, I don't remember where exactly I placed them in our several rankings, but one team that I had making the playoffs, and if the trade deadline, if they addressed their horrific bullpen earlier, would be way up on these standings is the Phillies. Like they've been putting together stuff recently, but like I think their bullpen, they've had leads in I think every game but 4. Like I saw some tweet that was just that insane statistic. And Reese Hoskins got hot. The Alec
bomb.
Yeah. He like hit a walk-off the other night. Like their bats are coming around.
Bryce has been insane this year.
Yeah, so that's a team that like I think Wheeler's been actually dealing pretty well. Aaron Nola's like a solid guy. And now that their bullpen's a little bit tighter with some of the acquisitions they got, they could be a team really to like watch compete with the Braves for like the top of that division, especially now with the Braves losing Max Fried.
Yeah, and that kind of sucks because Fried's had a real great year, especially after that they lost Mike Soroka real early in the season, a guy that was expected to be their ace. And they've got some good contributions from in their rotation from I believe his name's Ian Anderson, who's kind of came onto the scene and done this crazy thing, and just kind of helped uplift that team, because that's a team that needed pitching. That's a team that in Game 5 last year, their most important game of the season, their starter, who now is DFA'd, and Mike Fultonavich, he gave up 10 runs in the first inning. So, that's a team that the starting rotation was their Achilles heel last year. I mean, it ended their season. So, for them to be in this position and sort of been able to kind of float, I'm curious to see how they bounce back with the loss of Freed. And I don't think he's going to miss the rest of the year because some of these stints on the IL, I mean, they're going to last longer than 10 days, but I don't think Freed is one of them cases. So if he comes back and they can continue to succeed, that'll be good. It's going to be interesting, though, to see the end and see how this race kind of unfolds near the end of the year because, again, like the Yankees, they're going to face a lot of competition here. Actually, you know what? I'm looking at their schedule with the Braves here, and it is incredibly soft. They have the Nats. Now, they're going to see guys, like they're going to see Scherzer or so, but, you know, Scherzer and Corbin. But they have the Orioles, which I guess are a playoff team. See, it's really not that soft when you consider where these teams are, but I'm still not convinced because you got the Orioles, you got the Marlins that they still got to play a 3-game set. The Mets, who aren't completely out of it,
a powerhouse.
And they finished with the Red Sox, so that's soft. But you know, the Nats aren't scrubs either, considering they still have those 2 dominant aces. So it's September baseball is just getting super heated right now, and I'm 100% all for this. I think it's incredible, and I must say, even in a shortened season somehow, and even with the Pirates just absolutely stinking, I am enjoying all of the races and all the changes that they implemented, like the DH, and especially the expanded playoffs. I hope that they keep this because it's rare where I want to see a lot of teams make the playoffs, and the NBA is like one of them. You know, like with 16 teams, and the NHL is kind of the same when they have 16 teams, but the new format's a little bit different, and I like it. But baseball, it's such a long grind that only 10 teams make the playoffs. It always frustrated me. So to see them reward these, you know, kind of, I guess you can call them fringe teams, to see them being rewarded and make the playoffs, I'm super thrilled about it. I'm ready for October baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be so cool when you're getting to the last weekend and the last day. It's going to be like those, you know, when they schedule in the NFL Week 17, when they're like putting together, they're adjusting the schedule, have teams playing at the same time because if these scenarios fall in place, you're having these teams that are sliding in and making the playoffs. It's going to be like that year in 2011 where just like shit hit the fan. And it was like in a matter of 3 minutes, the Red Sox were booted. The Braves were booted, I think. The Cardinals got in. The Red Sox got out. And it was just hectic. I think that's going to be really cool for baseball to sort of have that opportunity, especially when you have a lot of teams that are like, holy cow, like, what are we going to see here? And we're going to get to see, like, young talent on these teams because that's, like, going to be the piece of it. So it's going to be really fun to watch.
So, Brooksy, my question is, today, September 9th, if you were to pick 2 teams that win the AL pennant, NL pennant, who are you picking?
Dodgers. That's easy. And, like, it's like they just have to. Dang. I'm between 3.
It's super tough. For me, what do you think of your other team? Who?
Indians.
Still my pick, but that's okay.
All right, I'm glad
that's okay. That's okay. Because the Indians are somehow, some way, the factory of Major League pitching in baseball. Like, they completely just recycle, revamp, and retool every single year. Starting when they traded like CC and they put in Cliff Lee and like traded him away, and then they bring in Kluber's there and like Bauer. Now it's Shane Bieber's time, and this is after they trade away Mike Clevinger. Like, I don't know how they're doing it, but it starts with him and him in a Game 7 this year. I don't think anybody's beating him. So it's a great pick. I'm going to stick with the Twins because I believed in them at the beginning. But in the NL, when I had the Dodgers, I really want to hop off and say that the Padres are going to do it, but I feel like I'm going to stick to my guns here and take the Dodgers. So Twins Dodgers is still my pick.
All right.
But the Padres, man, I might bet on them just because like they're firing on all cylinders, and now they have their ace. And I always said that team is a starting pitcher away from being absolutely dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And next year, look for them to potentially get Marcus Stroman out of free agency to continue to add to that. They still haven't even brought up Mackenzie Gore, who's their top prospect. So, and you throw him and Paddock and Steelson Lamont out there, like they're arrived. They're here.
Yeah, I think that's just going to be cool. You're having these teams, that we're tossing around beyond, the Padres in the mix, the White Sox that, are turning around and are like offensive. Like both these teams are just like creating so much excitement around them. And I mean, just speaks to the importance of farm systems because, a while ago they were at the bottom. And ironically, the White Sox should still have Fernando Tatis. And imagine how absurd that would be.
Right. It really would be. But the Sox, that was a team that sucks for years.
Mm-hmm.
And their GM completely just, he sold every single piece that he had in order to completely just commit to the tank. I guess if you can call it a tank. They scouted the Dominican well, and like I said at the beginning of the year, a young team, get them rolling momentum early, and look what happened. And now they're sitting near the top of the standings. Actually, they're leading the division. So they're a game out of being number one in the American League. Get that young team confidence and look where it go. Look them go.
Yeah, that's going to be I could see that coming down to like those three teams in that division, like a little race to the finish. And the Indians maybe still have some games against the Pirates, so that's good for them.
I would say the Indians have the best rotation.
Yeah.
The Twins have the best lineup, which right now just isn't clicking yet, but they're doing enough. And I think Donaldson's still trying to, find his footing. But the White Sox are like the most exciting because they're young and hungry, and like I love watching all these young guys, all these prospects up here just completely raking. Eloy Jimenez, Moncada, Luis Robert, Nick Madrigal's up here, so that's nice. The pitching, it's suspect. Guys like Dylan Cease aren't producing, but Dane Dunning is. So, like, it's fun. It's fun to watch, and let's not forget about Lucas Giolito throwing that no-hitter earlier this year too. So they got their ace.
Yeah, I think that's going to be fun races to follow, and like just 1 point on the Indians. The guy that they didn't have room for in their lineup 2 weeks ago, granted because he was an idiot and got himself kicked off, Zach Plesac. Since coming back, he's thrown like 2 separate solid 7-inning starts. So like they just pull these arms out. And I feel like I would like to see the Indians make one last run of it while Lindor's on their squad. But that's going to be a really fun race to follow. And like it makes me think in the AL, and this sort of like transitions to like the awards races we have coming to the final stretch, where you look at the MVPs for both leagues. So on the one in the AL, I've never seen anything so, and it's a 60-game season, so messy. And then in the AL, in the NL, we have the chance for history, where if Mookie does it, the Frank Robinson was the only other player to win MVP in both leagues. So like there was
Frank Robinson, or was it Brooks Robinson? It was Frank Robinson.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it was Frank.
Sorry about that. It was a Robinson. I knew that. A great Robinson at that.
Yeah, good Robinson guy. But in the AL, it's insane. Like, could it be a year where Shane Bieber takes it home? Or I feel like at this point, I would give him the upper edge just because everything else is such a cluster. And like then again, you have like Mike Trout, that poor guy.
Poor Mike Trout.
There.
Free Mike Trout, man. Just free him.
Leading the league in like slugging, OPS, home runs, probably up there in RBIs too. And it's just their team is just basemented. But you have, I think, like leading offensively, or like the position players leading in WAR. I think the White Sox have 3 in the top 10. Like, so they have a ton of people up there. You have like Nelson Cruz, Jose Abreu, Luis Robert, Tim Anderson. But I feel like it's just going to be Shane Bieber at this point. We may have another scenario where a pitcher takes it home.
The MVP.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 100% possible just based off of the fact that who is up there in terms of – and it's tough. All right, I'm not going to say it's tough, but, like, you could legitimately give this award to Mike Trout again. No one's going to say anything bad about it. But, like, this team is just – it's just so bad around him that, like, how can you give somebody this award for their team just completely letting him down? And I get it. It should go to the best player. But, like, winning does go into effect some of this. I mean, look at Andrew McCutchen in 13. Like, Paul Goldschmidt had a better year, numbers-wise. And Cutchin won it in 12, and he finished top 5. I think he finished 4th. And he did so because the team missed the playoffs. And the player who won it, their team did go to the playoffs. I believe that was, I really want to say Ryan Baran, but I could be wrong. It might even be Bryce Harper. I'm not sure when his MVP season was per se, but it made sense because they won a division. Like if the Pirates are a wild card team that year, Kutch wins an MVP. There's no doubt about it. But the next year, he won it because he went to the playoffs, despite him actually having worse numbers.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the point of I actually agree with you about Shane Bieber. He's been absolutely incredible every single start, and it has not slowed down. Every single time he steps on the mound, you know what you're getting. You're getting 7 innings, you're getting close to double-digit strikeouts, maybe 1 run. Like he's been incredible this year. Actually, if you look at WAR between him and position players in Major League Baseball, he has a 2.9, and Mookie Betts is tied up there with him, and he's the only other player with 2.9. So, I mean, what do you do? And I think that Bieber wins the award. I'm curious, though. Very curious to see how the National League MVP race shakes out. Because Bieber's winning that Cy Young. There's no doubt about it. He might win the MVP. We don't know. But the NL MVP is a complete coin flip right now.
That's going to be insane because you have on either side of it, like something big is going to happen. Either you have the Frank Robinson scenario or you have the 21-year-old Fernando Tatis. Like, do you see any other names in that race?
Nope. Honestly, I really don't. And I'm looking at a lot of the I'm looking at a lot here in terms of the stats. It's just so hard again to give it to anybody else that's in the National League. Manny Machado maybe could take away some votes from Tatis, and he might be the only other one. Bryce Harper's another guy too that I think could bounce back and actually, if he finishes strong, he's a guy I can see making a late surge, especially if he leads into the playoffs. But I think when it comes down to it, you're looking at two guys. You're looking at Mookie Betts or Fernando Tatis, and honestly, you got to take your pick. These guys are separated. They're neck and neck with basically everything. So Mookie Betts, 13 homers, 32 RBIs, 96 total bases. He struck out 29 times. He has 6 stolen bases. OPS plus slugging a 9.93. And a WAR of 2.9. Then you have Tatis. Oh, and by the way, he bats .310, but so does Tatis, who also bats .310. He's leading Major League Baseball with 15 homers. He has 39 RBIs. Struck out 47 times. I'm not going to ding him. He's a 21-year-old kid. So, but on base plus slugging of 1.062. So he's just crushing Mookie in that aspect, and he has a WAR of 2.8. So, like, I mean, it's tough, and you have like the Dodgers just winning the division. They're just a better team. Like, are they really like? I feel like if you take Mookie off that team, are they still winning the division? And that's yes. Whereas if you take Tatis off that team, are they still where they're at? And I think it's no. I don't think they are there. I feel like that's how you got to define that award. So if I got to pick someone to win, it's got to be Fernando Tatis, right?
Yeah, I think it turns into the it questions the spirit of most valuable player. Like, to me, it's the connection with what year was that? So 2012. Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
So, like, you had Manning had an incredible year. And then you just had, a team that outside of this one person's performance, Adrian Peterson, wouldn't have, like, sniffed the playoffs. And he just performed, like, so highly that, you know, I guess it maybe even isn't a connection more with Bieber, so in a position that doesn't win MVP. But it's like one of those things where it's like, well, would the Vikings have made the playoffs without him? Well, no, definitely not. So I feel like it's – and I wonder how much of that, the fact with the Dodgers being that, like, super team could impact where that stands, or could that, like, hurt Mookie Betts much?
Yeah, and – I guess to further elaborate on that AP award, which was pretty astounding in itself because, again, a running back, not only just a running back winning the award, it's just unheard of in today's NFL. Again, Peyton Manning had one of the best years statistically of any quarterback ever. I believe he set the touchdown record that year, and he still lost. The reason why he lost was, number one, AP rushed for over 2,000 yards, which is something that's, again, not heard of in a passing NFL. But this is the year after he tore his ACL. He tore his ACL in week 17, and then he came back week 1, full go, and then rushes for 2,000 yards. Like, it was one of the most incredible comebacks I've ever seen. He just absolutely dominated that year. So, like, I don't think Peyton's too upset about the fact he didn't win the award. I think he's more upset about the fact he didn't win the Super Bowl. But these things kind of happen. So it's just, again, wildness. And to shift back to baseball, I think with the Dodgers, again, being a super team, like, I really do think it can hurt them. Because, again, my reasoning earlier regarding the take Mookie off, where are they? And you take Tatis off, where are they?
Yeah.
I think the Raiders just got to ask themselves that question. I think in the end it's going to be close. So I think a lot of them are going to want to see history. And here's another thing that kind of goes into it, which is stupid, but this is how stupid the writers are. They're going to say, oh, Mookie Betts, like, he's playing at a high level, one of the highest levels in baseball. Like, you got to give it to him because you have this ascending talent in Fernando Tatis who's going to win multiple MVP awards, and they're going to put that reasoning into that. And it's like, to me, it's so dumb. I think it's a dumb reason, but, I mean, again, history – I'm super cool with slating Mookie Betts' place in history as up there with Frank Robinson.
Yeah, that would be really cool just to sort of see something that's never happened And it's
Yeah.
always crazy when you think in like baseball, you're like, oh, like things have always happened. And I was surprised. It's like that only happened once. But I get it. That is surprising. Like Cy Young wins are like a little bit different, which
Yeah.
that was an unintentional transition. But Cy Young, so AL, we know that's Bieber.
I know. Oh,
NL, is this going to be is the Yu Darvish purchase finally going to be justified?
I think so. I think the only other person that makes sense is Jake DeGrom, but again, the Mets just aren't that good. And
Yeah.
I know wins are obsolete anymore, but I think in this particular scenario, I think wins are going to prevail. Just because Yu is 7-1, DeGrom's 3-1, and again, I look where the Cubs are compared to where the Mets are. The Mets, like the Angels, for example, where would they be without their superstar coming out every fifth day and at least, not only giving them a chance to win, like odds on betting favorite to win, like where would they be without him? And I don't think they would be there, but at the same time, like Yu Darvish is being the ace that he was signed for. So I feel like him winning the award I think it's hands down, again, barring some crazy injury, I think it's hands down his award to lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think there's like a bunch of names beyond that. Like Clayton Kershaw is starting to get going, but like the season's going to be over in 3 weeks. If this was a longer stretch, like right now we're a month and a half in, which in other seasons this is not even Memorial Day yet. So this is sort of a season where it's like, you're going to have to really come out and have a solid performance through to make a strong case. Like people that started off slow or may like wean off, but it's a bummer with Max Fried going down because he could have sort of made that a little bit more interesting too. But I think
he's undefeated right now. I feel like he'd get dinged for the strikeouts, 47 compared to Darvish's 63. But again, pitching WAR, he's second behind Bieber at 2.8. So Bieber at 2.9.
Yeah, and then Rookie of the Year. I feel like in the AL, Robert is a step ahead, and then maybe Kyle Lewis from Seattle. But I feel like Robert is just the upper hand in that matchup.
Yeah, and I think it's going to get a Robert, and that's fine. I think it deserves it, but I really can't think of any other rookie that might actually challenge him. Maybe Nate Solak from Texas, but even then, Robert, he's been solid. He's been extremely solid this year. He's been a complete surprise, and he's an incredible athlete for his size. Like, I was watching the Pirates game yesterday and watching him run down the line, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, how in the hell does this dude play center field at this size? He's like 6'3", 240, and he runs like a gazelle. It's insane to me. Like, he's not going to be there the whole time, but like he's there now, and that's like still like that's wild. So, NL, I'm going to go Jake Cronenworth.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if there's much competition there.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
If Baum was playing longer.
Brian Hayes.
Oh, let's get let's start campaigning door to door.
We should. Although honestly, I feel like they should bench him. He's getting us wins. Like, bro, we need to not win. So.
Yeah. Keep on bottom.
I'm pretty sure I butchered it. Cronenworth, that's it. I said Cronenworth. It's Cronenworth. So I feel like he'd be the guy that I think he's the guy that
came out of nowhere.
Yeah, no one expected that, and he's batting .323. Let's see where he lands here in the National League. Where is he? He's not even on the list. That's weird.
Who's speaking of? Cronenworth?
Yeah, I don't see him here right now. Like, that's odd. I just sorted my stats here, and he's not there. So
He's
now I
played
feel.
like most of the season, like 40, almost 40.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I'm a little bit confused myself,
What are you
but
looking for now? Because I see now I don't know how dated this article is, but he's slashing 325, 378, 561.
yeah, he was here before, but he's not here now, and I don't understand it why.
Voter
Uh,
suppression.
he has 38 games played, so I don't know if that's. I feel like that's not why he's qualified because again, Rendon's on this list. Bottom line is this: he's top 10 or more in Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
So
that should be enough.
forget me trying to figure out what he's batting in terms of the race there. He's top 10 more in baseball, and he qualifies for that, and that's good enough for me.
So I feel like the one where it can sort of get interesting is the manager of the year. And obviously, like a lot can be said, but I feel like in the NL, Tingler, what he's doing, but how he didn't get Fernando Tatis's back, that should disqualify him.
Yeah,
But
I don't care. I ain't voting for him for that.
yeah,
Forget that. That piss. He's gonna win it, but that frustrates me no end. Another guy I think that could actually challenge is
David Ross.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my vote would actually be for David Ross in all seriousness, because they're gonna win the division.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, and that takes nothing away from Tingler, who obviously has had a great year, but they didn't win the division, so it's extremely tough. I think Preller wins Executive of the Year, but
Mm-hmm.
I think David Ross wins Manager of the Year.
Yeah, I'm in the similar boat, especially like where that division. I mean, if they continue to handle their business, like that was the way that they've like come out hot too for a young manager, first season, and everything, all the different variables that are coming out to then just storm out in the way that they did. And I think as it carries through, if they win the division, I think that at least makes it a little bit more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Although I do want to give a shout out to the Miami Marlins manager, Don Mattingly, Donnie Baseball.
Yeah, it's a shame because like in such like a weird season, it would just be like, yeah, look what he did with the Marlins. Yeah, and then I feel like in the AL, it's almost like it's a similar scenario where you have a team that's like, holy cow, like how the Padres are slam Diego, and then you have the White Sox guys that are just exploding.
Mm-hmm.
It's like on one hand, you're sort of like, oh, like, on one hand, this team is having a really good year. On the other hand, it's like, oh, like their roster is finally like coming around. They've added these right pieces. So like I feel like Renteria has the upper hand, but then it's just like the same thing every year with Bob Melvin and Kevin Cash, who like continue to put up what they're doing. So like I think if similar situation with David Ross, if the Rays win the division, that should be Kevin Cash's.
It should be. It really should be, especially if they finish top in baseball. I feel like I feel like at that point it's no debate, and I understand with the Cubs, like with the Cubs, they might finish with a worse record than the Padres, and that's fine. But like again, they didn't win the division. You're talking about the Rays, who weren't favored to win that division at all. Not only are they probably going to win that division, they're probably going to finish number one seed. Like it's no doubt about it to me. It's Kevin Cash. The only other guy again that makes sense is Rick Renteria, but again, they would have to supplant the Rays from being the top seed. I think so. I think it's a two-way race. If I'm going to give it to a third guy, I'll give it to the Blue Jays manager, who I saw his name for the first time earlier today, but I also saw that he actually mismanaged them out of some wins. So that's unfortunate, but still, we didn't expect them to be there. So if they end up in the playoffs, especially finish ahead of the Yankees, that's a team that, like, I'd be cool with it. You know, go ahead.
Maybe. Yeah.
So.
Well, I think we're well over an hour, so I think that's a wrap. Greg, this is where when you edit it, you put a nice little ender here, but in reality, who knows how it will go. But thank you all for listening. We're in a exciting final stretch. Join us next week to see how the Yankees will somehow continue to slip and how their 4-game series with the feisty Baltimore Orioles go.
And the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah.
And hopefully Atlanta stops scoring runs because it's now 25-9.
Dear Lord.
And the bases are loaded.
Who's pitching for the Marlins right now? Starling Marte?
I don't know, but I got before we go, I got to see this box score because this is actually insane. Oh my God. Pablo Lopez pitched and then Yamamoto pitched. Tommy Malone pitched for the Braves. So Lopez gave up 7 earned. Yamamoto gave up 12 earned in 2.2 innings. And
Poor guy.
He threw almost 100 pitches.
Oh my God.
Home runs by the Braves. Darno hit second. Darno hit one in the second, a 3-run shot. Freeman hit a 2-run shot in the third. Duvall has 2. A second inning, a 2-run shot, and the 5th inning, a 3-run shot. Elbies has 1 solo shot. Acuna has a 3-run shot.
It's going to be one of the things where they just get so exhausted that they just then cool off.
Seriously, but they have more runs than hits. They have 21 hits. They have 25 runs. I can't believe looking at that.
All right.
Easiest over in history.
Well, maybe the game will be over by next week or when this episode publishes. Tune in next week. It's an exciting, unprecedented season we have coming.
Bye, y'all.
Peace.